King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring is currently going on, and we have special guests today from Ruthless Talk on TikTok and YouTube, and we're going to dig into all of the conversation and see what we want to see happen and all that good stuff. So before we do that, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. We drop daily wrestling content. Right above me here is the WWE shop link. Make sure you click that. No extra money, just an extra click, and you support this podcast and you support the WWE. James and Brian, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Go ahead,
man.
James.
Good.
I'll let you. Yeah, doing well myself, man. Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
appreciate it, man. Appreciate the invite.
yeah, no. So tell us about your channel. Where can people find you? And I'll drop all your links also in the description box below. So go ahead and tell us about your channel.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
James.
so,
I'll let you take that. Yeah.
Right. I got you, brother. So for all you beautiful people that are listening to this, my name is James Porcelli, and of course, my co-host Brian. Our podcast is called Ruthless Talk. We are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You guys can also check us out on social media on TikTok, Instagram. That is Ruthless_Talk. We make amazing wrestling content, wrestling podcasts. We have now been in the podcasting community, the wrestling community, for about a little over a year now. When it comes to our podcast and our platform, we're very direct. We don't sugarcoat a whole lot because we're passionate. We're passionate wrestling fans. We've been fans forever in regards to it. So for me, I came or was a fan from the Ruthless Aggression era. Brian, of course, from the Attitude era. So you kind of get different perspectives from two different eras. So that's what kind of makes it really unique. But I'm very grateful to have for both of us. Are very grateful to have the platform that we have and all the people that we've met. We've interviewed wrestlers in the past. We met so many other great content creators, and just many more great memories to come. And we appreciate you guys having us, man. Right, looking forward to today's topic. It should be a good one. So
Yeah, that summed it up perfectly, bro.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, and we've been doing this for, I don't know, it feels like 10 years, but it's been like a year maybe that we've been doing the wrestling one. And yeah, I mean, so me and Matt, we grew up, together. We've known each other about 30 years almost. And wrestling has always been like the one thing that we've been passionate about. So yeah, it's cool to have someone that you're, really familiar with this stuff and talk about it all the time. So
absolutely.
For sure.
So yeah, let's dig into the King of the Ring bracket. Forgive me for all the listeners, but WWE just does not want us to know who's in this tournament, apparently, because we cannot find a bracket for the life of us. But here's what I got. So as of Monday, Gunther has beaten Sheamus. Kofi and Ray has not happened. So I don't know if that's going to happen on a house show this weekend or if they're going to pull double duty on Monday. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Dragunov beat Ricochet and Jey Uso beat Finn Balor. So let's go over to James real quick. So what do you think of like Dragunov and Uso? What do you think this match is going to do for us?
Man, this is tough, man, because I mean you have one guy in Dragunov who I've said for the longest time, and Brian can back me up on it. Like, this dude is special. And this dude is definitely going to be, if he's not already a top star, or is destined to be a top star. But then you have someone like Jey Uso, who, and me and Brian also spoke about this about Jey. He's main event Jey Uso, but lately in these main events, he's been pretty much losing. In regards to who I think should win this match, probably it's Jey Uso. I don't think Dragunov's going to lose anything from this. This is going to be obviously a damn solid freaking match. Maybe some mutual respect, some fucking handshakes in there. Who freaking knows? Because we see that all the time. I make fun of that all the time, of course. But I would say Jey Uso. I think it's most likely Jey. I think he needs, after, of course, taking that loss to Damian Priest, I think he kind of needs this victory. And with Dragunov still being so new to the main roster, I mean, I would still love to see Dragunov and Gunther in the future, but I think they want to kind of save that for probably maybe a Bash in Berlin in the future in August. Maybe they want to save that first time collision, especially for a lot of casual fans, to that type of setting. So I'm going to say, probably Jey Uso will probably win this match, and I think as he should. So
there you go. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, man. I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I want Uso to win, but part of me really wants to go with like this being the major upset, like the whole tournament. and just Dragunov moves on. Whether it's because I wouldn't think it'd be a clean loss, a bloodline interference, something like that. I don't know, but I think it's definitely it's hard to say Uso's going to lose to Dragunov, considering where he's been. But I think big picture, I there's part of me that thinks it would almost be better for him to lose here to Dragunov than maybe in the Raw finals to Gunther in a way, if that makes sense. So I'm still going with Jay, but there's a wild card there, man. I would not be shocked if somehow, some way, Dragunov comes out of there, and this kind of kicks off that feud with Gunther and Dragunov going into the future.
Right, for sure. MVP, you have any thoughts on it?
Absolutely. Right now, I'm thinking Jey Uso because, like you guys said, they're gonna save. They should save Dragunov versus Gunther if they go down that route for a big pay-per-view or PLE. But I'm still of the thought that Dragunov could potentially be the new third member of Imperium down the line. So I don't think a clash with Gunther would be ideal right now. So
I feel that too. Yeah, for sure.
Right. No, for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my thoughts when I started this. Is Dragunov and Imperium, that would be a really solid faction. But then Dragunov has really got a lot of talent to where does he need to be a secondary to Gunther unless he's going to be mentoring under him, right? But
that's also an easy way to set up the feud, later down the road.
It depends on how they do it, because I've even said it about shout out to Ring Fanatics, Nick from Ring Fanatics. He talked about potentially I think it was Chad Gable being a part of Imperium or something like that. He made a wild take on our podcast, and even though it may sound cool, and you can say the same thing about Dragunov, to where it's like, he's more than just a member of the faction. But like Brian, like you said, it could be a way to further along a story. But I think it would just depend on how that would look and how that they would prolong that. But who knows? I mean, you can honestly, this can go either or. They could honestly give Dragunov the big upset here, but I'm going with my gut to say it's going to be Jey Uso, and they're going to save that for probably Bash in Berlin. But because Dragunov and Gunther, man, like that's, if people seen NXT UK, bro, like that's freaking like you don't know what you're missing if you haven't seen their stuff in NXT UK, and they're gonna deliver whenever they butt heads in the future. So
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so that brings me to the next match, Gunther versus Kofi or Ray. That's really no mystery there. Gunther is going to come out on top, I think.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be against Kofi, only because they've set that up, with the Xavier Woods injury and all that. So, any of you guys can go next, whatever you think of this match as well.
Go ahead, Brian.
The Kofi and Mysterio match?
Yeah, versus Gunther. It'll be Gunther versus one of the two. But
I'm Kofi is going to win that first one, and Gunther and Kofi. I mean, unfortunately that's a no-brainer, man. I mean, just considering where I love Kofi, and shout out to them. But considering where Gunther is and where Kofi is right now, I mean, that's probably going to be under 10-minute match.
it won't
as
be
it
long.
should, honestly.
As it should.
What does that say about Gunther if he can't put Kofi or Mysterio away in more than 10 minutes? So absolutely.
MVP, what do you think?
Totally agreeance. It might as well be so you can plug either or in. It doesn't matter. It's practically going to be a bye.
Pretty
It's practically going to be a bye. So,
so a quick question. So when we were talking about Dragunov and Uso. So if Uso does move on, are we heading toward maybe Tama Tonga meeting him toward the finals?
No, I don't think so. I think this is honestly, and me and Brian, we've also spoken about it too. It's like Gunther is honestly the only realistic option to win this entire thing in regards to it. Yeah, Tama Tonga and Jey Uso, yeah, they're going to butt heads in the future because of this bloodline story, but I don't really think you need that whole King of the Ring title to really tell that story. I think you can tell that in a different way. Because with Gunther, he just dropped this IC title. So especially now that if he's going to be a part of the main event picture, feuding with guys like in the future, maybe a Randy Orton or an LA Knight, a Cody Rhodes in the future, Gunther needs to be in the finals, as he should be in the finals for this tournament, at least for the Raw side. So as much as I like Jay, and I love what the Bloodline is doing with this whole with Solo Sikoa kind of being the new, I guess, tribal chief, whatever you want to call him. Tama Tonga, I love the presentation with Tama Tonga. His entrance last night was really freaking nice. I love the presentation of Tama Tonga over the last since he's debuted. But with that being said, even though the Bloodline story is in a good direction right now, I don't think that Jay and Tonga being in the finals makes the most sense, at least for Gunther's sake and his booking. But yeah, it's probably going to most likely be Gunther in these finals for the Raw side.
Yeah, I agree on that too. I mean, and especially with all that momentum he had with the IC title run, and I mean, you don't take that away from him to make him take a backseat. You need to push him forward into the world title picture, and it's just a no-brainer. As long as he doesn't come out as King Gunther for a year and wears like a crown and all that, then I'm all for it. So the SmackDown side. So we had AJ Styles versus Orton last night. I thought it was a very good match. They told a good story with Orton's leg injury, and that'll carry through the rest of the tournament. So we'll go back to James real quick. So what are your opinions on that match?
Orton and Styles, man. I mean, it's Randy Orton and AJ Styles. I mean, you really can't freaking. There's really nothing that needs to be said about that, but. For Orton, man, I'm actually, it's funny with Orton because, he's got the history with these injuries as of late with his back and the neck injury. And, I mean, there was, of course, a case to where we never thought Orton would even be wrestling still again. So it's even a blessing just to see Randy Orton right now on WWE TV. But with AJ Styles and Orton, oh my God, Styles and his booking, man, it's just been so inconsistent because he's coming off the title victory and now he loses this match to Orton. Especially with Carmelo Hayes too. I mean, obviously because Carmelo Hayes defeated Corbin. Sorry, I know I'm like going ahead here, but you can't. I always hate I talk about heel versus heel, so that's just kind of an awkward matchup if Styles were to face Carmelo because it seems like Carmelo is playing more of the heel shtick, so that would kind of derail both people to try to out heel the other. So yeah, with Orton, man, I mean, listen, with Styles, and I don't really think anybody lost anything from this match just because of how good it is. It's just now with Styles, it's like, okay, great match. You didn't lose anything, but where does he go from here now? So that's really the question with that. But no, it was a damn solid match. I loved it. It was Orton Styles. Again, like I said, there's nothing much that really needs to be said about it. So I guess we'll soon find out, at least in regards to Styles' booking in the future. So,
for sure. MVP, did you get a chance to see it? I know that you've been busy and you worked this morning, but
I saw it. Yeah, it's a damn good match.
Yes,
Orton Styles. No, nothing else to say. You're gonna get a solid match from them.
Yeah, for sure. So, go ahead.
But yeah, you can go either way with them, but like you said, Styles booking from then on out. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, that's the thing with AJ is that he's always, he's always like not always in the main event scene when he should be, and then it's kind of like he's too good of a talent to let him just kind of hang out, So I don't know where he goes from here. Honestly, that's. I've
stated before, Brian, and we've said it again, like the whole OC, like the back and forth with the OC,
what happened?
Like that story hasn't really been finished at all. So, and that was really good stuff. That was the most intriguing I've seen out of the OC for freaking years. So there's a story to be told there. We've talked about with Styles and Cody, maybe, there was, I don't know how likely it is now, but with Styles and Cody, maybe doing a part 2 and a part 3 to maybe kind of evolve the story a bit, because it was mostly with Cody and Styles. it was mainly kind of like, okay, I respect you, you respect me, because we both got here kind of through the same path. But now, as the story unfolds, it now becomes more personal, and now you see more of that heel status and style. So maybe that was pretty much the hope. But with this booking, man, at least with WWE, I just don't trust it. So who freaking knows at this point?
Yeah, for sure. And then the next match. So, and I'm going out of order, obviously. I'm just going from top to bottom on the list, not the match order on SmackDown, but Baron Corbin and Carmelo Hayes. I mean, Baron Corbin, it looks like NXT did him a little good. He
a little bit
wasn't very boring to me like before, where I'm like, I just don't care anything about Baron Corbin. So, and it helped push Hayes to the next round. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Orton and Hayes can do. And I don't know if even the Bloodline gets involved in that, just because Orton's had issues with them. And maybe Hayes moves on, or that'll be a big shocker in the match. What do you guys think of Orton versus Carmelo Hayes?
Man, that's going to be a great matchup. Like I don't know. I kind of got to go back to even the AJ and Orton match. I just wish that wasn't a first round matchup, really.
Yeah,
because I'm also like I do kind of have the real life in the back of my mind all the time, and like I mean Orton coming out of Backlash, and we all know he's hurt, and I mean he's always going to perform, no doubt, but I just wonder long term. I mean, it just seems like AJ's healthier. He's in phenomenal shape, no pun intended, but I just feel like you got to get the ball rolling with AJ here. It's not. It's going to be Orton and Melo, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Melo wins here due to interference. Like I said, because I mean Orton, he's going to be great in whatever spot, but I mean, I don't know. I think he's possibly a little more injured than even we may realize. So I just wonder how that plays long term.
Yeah, I did see a recent interview with him that he said, he doesn't want to be a part-time wrestler and only WrestleMania and maybe SummerSlam, and he wants to be on the road for another 5-6 years. So I don't know if that's a telltale sign that he is pretty healthy current state, but
there was a point in the backlash match, and then after, if you've seen footage like of him walking back to the ramp, that it's not good, man. It's not good.
No.
Yeah, his back is definitely tore up. So, but yeah, so then we move on. So LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. It hasn't happened yet, but I think LA Knight's going to win that for sure. I don't see why he wouldn't. Does anyone disagree with that?
No, it's got to be LA. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that because it's going to be more interesting. So Tama Tonga advanced. He faced Angelo Dawkins. I think it should have been Montez Ford, honestly. I think that he should have been in that spot personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you have LA Knight and Tama Tonga, so this is my prediction, and I want to hear what you guys think. So if Orton, he's facing Carmelo Hayes, I think that the Bloodline interferes and costs Orton that match. But I think Orton comes back and costs Tama Tonga the match against LA Knight. And then we get LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes in the semifinals. What do you guys think?
I'm going the route it sucks for LA Knight, man. Like I don't know, but I think somehow, some way, but I do like your theory there with each of them costing the match. But I think Tonga is winding up in the finals
against Gunther.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Against Gunther. Yeah.
Against Gunther. Okay. Wow.
No. I think so. I didn't know where we were in that, but I mean. Yeah, I didn't want to give that away, but yeah. So right now, Tonga. Yeah, I think Tonga's beating LA Knight. I don't necessarily like that because, I mean, if you listen to our podcast, James, you and I mean, I don't know. I think WWE missed a golden opportunity about a year ago. LA Knight's he's still in the, upper echelon of wrestlers, but, even going through this tournament, I mean, he's not winning it. So he's going to take an L somewhere, and I think it's going to be in this match against Tonga.
All right. Yeah. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I agree with Brian. Tonga's not losing, especially with the Bloodline, because you have to consider the Bloodline too. Like, this is pretty much a new Bloodline 2.0. And I think that going into, especially evolving the story, you want all members of the Bloodline to feel pretty dominant. And I think that that's what WWE is going to end up doing. It's going to be Orton, it's going to be Tonga in the finals for the SmackDown side. For the most part, you'll see those two collide heads. I mean, Orton backstage, he kind of called out Tonga. So I'm sure WWE wants those two to pretty much butt heads in the finals of that. That's probably going to be a main event
And
on
I think
SmackDown in the near future. Go ahead, Brian. Yeah.
And that's when the interference comes in with the Bloodline to,
Yes.
to ensure that Tonga gets to the final.
Yep, exactly. Because Carmelo Hayes too, like I said the same thing about with Dragunov, like Carmelo Hayes, and I like the way that they are like at least booking Carmelo Hayes. I mean, it seems like he's a heel as of right now of what he's doing. He's he's like this new up and comer. He's the rookie. He kind of like his shit don't stink, right? He's just like, he's got all these veterans that are trying to give him advice, and he's not really taking it. He's kind of rubbing people the wrong way. So I like that, and I think of course with a match with Orton. Kind of like the same way I said about Dragunov with Jey Uso, especially for Carmelo. I mean, like it's Randy Orton. Like you're not going to lose anything just losing to Randy Orton at all. Especially, hopefully they book him properly in the match. Because I'm always a fan of saying there's always victory and defeat. So if they can make Carmelo Hayes look good in defeat, as I believe they will, WWE has proven already that they're very high on the kid. And but Randy Orton will definitely be in the finals with Tonga, and that's where, like Brian said, all the interference and stuff will come into play.
All right, MVP, you got thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. As far as the Orton Hayes match goes, I can see Hayes doing one of his springboards into an RKO.
Oh, for sure.
That was my whole thinking, seeing this playing out.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm 100% agreeance with you guys saying that Tonga and Randy Orton in the SmackDown finals with a lot of bloodline interference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
good old bloodline fashion, right?
Yeah,
freaking all the interference in the world.
Yeah, I think that the Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles was the first title match in like almost 2 years that didn't have interference in it.
Yeah, I heard
It's
that.
crazy.
Right,
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that pretty much sums that up. I mean, so long story short, yeah, I think personally that you get Gunther and LA Knight in the finals, but that's me. I'm a gambling man. I'm a degenerate, and I go for the unders all the time, and I lose. But yeah, that would be my pick is Gunther versus LA Knight in the finals. But let's go to MVP. Who do you think is going to be in the finals, and who wins?
All right, so my initial thinking was LA Knight in the finals as well until you gentlemen started getting my because I had a hot take. You guys were saying Gunther in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was gonna go Jey Uso in the finals. But with the new thinking of Tama Tonga getting through, I don't think now's the time to put Uso and Tama Tonga together in the finals. So my ultimate finals would be Gunther Tama Tonga.
Yeah, but that's interesting, right? Because
it's a hard one because you're gonna interfere the hell out of that match with Gunther and then make him look smaller. I don't know how they go about doing that.
That's my drawback to it is because so my final on SmackDown is Orton and Tonga, and then Gunther and Uso, and I can see the Bloodline both interfering for Tonga to win and then costing Uso the match.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get to the finals, like and I've talked about this before, like Gunther's the type of individual and the wrestler where like I really don't want to see that match overbooked. Because I don't know, he just has that presence about him where like he's just gonna get this done on his own. But then again, it's the Bloodline, and I don't know. Or even now that we just been talking about here, if they do this is the final. Of course, we expect Bloodline interference. Does Dragunov maybe come out to help Gunter at that point, and it's Kaiser, Dragunov, and Gunter, kind of facing off against the Bloodline.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking
Yeah.
too, not to cut you
Yeah.
off, but I mean, if you have the Bloodline, now here's the good news, bad news. If they interfere in the Jey Uso match, kind of makes sense because Solo's already mentioned Jey Uso's name and, about Paul Heyman kind of motioning to him for help. But then again, then the brand split rules are already out the window because then you got SmackDown coming over to Raw. And it's like, we just had a draft, guys. Like, we're already backtracking, But,
me and James are talking. Give it 3 weeks, fellas. Like, by the next pay-per-view, somebody has switched. Yeah. Somebody has crossed over.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's funny you mentioned that it's funny you guys mentioned the whole crossover thing. Cause like, I don't mind if they do that as long as they just make it make sense. Like, somebody's backstage on SmackDown and nobody says a freaking word. It's just like nobody's saying anything that somebody on SmackDown is on Monday Night Raw. It's just like, at least if there was a reason for them to be there, like in the realism of like, I go back to, and me and Brian talked about it too, is like when the whole Jimmy and Jay spiel started happening going into Mania. And I think this was when Jay was officially a member of the Raw roster. And he got involved in a match with Jimmy and Solo. And you had all of the security get involved. They escorted him out of the building. They escorted Adam Pearce out of the building. I'm like, there you go. Like, now this is a brand split. Instead of just randomly putting people like Dominic or whatever the case may be on Realm. Like, and you're just insulting my intelligence and everyone else's intelligence that they're not supposed to be here. So I don't mind the switch. It's just, hopefully maybe moving forward, fingers crossed, they actually
less
make this
of it
feel,
or
exactly.
Or at least it makes sense when they do it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you really want to match that bad, it doesn't take much to say Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce made a trade and this person's coming to this brand. And then you can then it makes sense. Right. I mean, and they should do it like regular sports, right? If you're having two brands, like, it isn't out of the realm of possibility that, someone gets buyed out of their contract and they're a free agent or a trade, or you could do those things and it makes sense instead of, like you said, just they show up and they're like, oh, you're over here? Oh, just for this week. And it's like, well, why though? why are you here?
Right.
But to go back to my original point. So yeah, if the Bloodline were to interfere and Dragunov takes that offensively, he could come to the aid of Gunther and Kaiser, and you might see a little hint of Imperium versus Bloodline. But the problem then is, when do you do that because of the brand split? So if Gunther's in the finals, I'm not a fan of any interference in that match. He hasn't had interference in any of his matches in over 600 days. That it doesn't make sense to do that here. That's kind of why I want him versus LA Knight. And you can have the Bloodline get screwed out just like Orton gets screwed, and that sets up their feud and have a clean King of the Ring match. But hopeful thinking, like you guys said earlier, WWE, in their booking, you can't trust it all the time. So
no.
So
I actually have I've changed my mind.
Let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
All right, so this final is taking place in Saudi.
Correct.
So So I'm thinking Uso Tamatanga in the final. There's gonna be bloodline interference for sure. I see Uso thwarting that interference, and then we see a debuting
Fatu. Yeah, because I'm definitely Fatu's. He's got to be debuting soon for sure.
Yeah,
he is on his way.
I think this is the time for him to debut, screwing Jey Uso out of the King of the Ring tournament.
Oh, you think Fatu's going to screw Uso out of it? Because I'm of the mindset that when Fatu does show up, he's eventually Jimmy and Jay are going to reunite, and Fatu's with them. So I think Fatu would help Jay in this scenario.
Because and then we've spoken too about, I think, War Games too, right, in regards to maybe The Rock showing up, because we've said about The Rock, like The Rock is in control of all of this. Solo is kind of just even though he says he's the tribal chief, but it's The Rock that's really pulling the strings here in regards to it. So, but yeah, I mean, Jacob Fatu, I think, I remember I heard a report saying that, and it's from WrestleVotes. When it's from WrestleVotes, freaking like just it's freaking treat it like a bag of salt, right? Freaking don't even listen to those fucking people. Anyway, But they said something about like, WWE is afraid that Jacob Fatu is going to outshine Solo, so he's going to be more upon as the tribal chief. And I'm just like, first of all, there's no way that's true at all. But I mean, listen, if they make Jacob Fatu be Jacob Fatu, whether it is with Roman and Uso, whether it's with Solo and Tonga and Tongaloa, it's gonna be freaking awesome, because there's so many avenues that you can go with that make sense and can prolong to where this could lead with Roman and The Rock eventually at WrestleMania. I've heard already reports that for this coming year at WrestleMania for Vegas, it's going to be The Rock and Cody. I don't know about that in regards to it, because now you're going to prolong Rock and Roman for the next following year. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's what's great about this Bloodline story, at least as of right now. Even though it's gotten off the rails many times over the past year, but now I think it's, finally we're doing what we should have done like last year, because I've always stated about Cody and Roman in the title picture, and I've beaten a dead horse about it. Like Cody should have won at 39, and we should have gotten the ball rolling with this whole Bloodline dissension freaking years ago. But here we are, I guess. So
yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, when it comes to the Bloodline, if anyone's listened to this channel long enough, I'm a mark for the Bloodline. MVP.
Yeah, they're awesome, man.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to acknowledge, right? But yeah, I think that I could see Jey Uso and Tama Tonga in the finals here, because I've mentioned before too, we're going to get a Bloodline Civil War at War Games. That's what I think is going to happen.
Right, exactly.
I'm just and I've mentioned that too. It's just a matter. I mean, you could do it. It's in the next year or two, depending on when they do it.
Yeah. So I mean, and that should set up Rock and Roman for Mania. Is what it should do. I mean, that's the thing, is there's so many twists and turns, and I love it because you don't know what's going to happen, but you've already set up for Rock and Cody and Rock and Roman, and those are both WrestleMania matches. So I don't know. You got to pick one or the other, and The Rock isn't getting younger, so you don't want him to put on a crappy match in 2 years with either one of those guys, right? So, but we'll see. I mean, I could see your guys' point with Tama and Jey Uso in the finals. Hopeful thinking is Gunther and LA Knight, because I think LA Knight needs a little bit. He hasn't had any gold yet, which he should. Right. And this would be
should have won the briefcase, bro. Should have won the freaking briefcase. But then Damian Priest held it, and no one gave a freaking shit about him. I mean, thankfully now with the world title, it seems like now he's finally looked upon as a, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he feels like a serious threat as a solo competitor. And Damian Priest has always been tremendous, but it just wasn't the time for Damian Priest. The time was for LA Knight. And Brian, I ranted about that. It's up on our platform now about LA Knight, because like the dude was so white hot. It's just like sometimes, like even in wrestling, even if you plan something, right? Like your long-term plan is to book this person. But sometimes it's just like in wrestling, you have to just read the room. Like the room was hot for LA Knight when he should have won that freaking briefcase, and you could have done so much with that dude with the briefcase. And there's the nostalgia of the cash in. People are going to get excited about a cash in, but it would have meant so much more if it was LA Knight, the guy who has such already a true strong connection with the wrestling audience. So, but again, here
I wonder how the WrestleMania crowd would have acted if Punk costs Drew the title and then LA Knight's music hits and he
bro.
I wonder how that pop would have been.
Philadelphia would have lost their shit. It would have been like, I mean, Philadelphia was loud when Priest came out, but bro, that would have been 10 times freaking just more amplified if it was freaking LA Knight, man. So I don't know, man. Freaking, I don't want to say it is what it is because LA Knight's just so damn good, and he's not getting any younger either. I want to say he's what, like 40 something years old. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so while we're on the topic of, because we could talk about the main event scene for so long, and we'd be like a 3-hour show.
Right.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. So the Queen of the Ring on Monday happened, and let me pull it up right now. Usually I don't have to pull up like 3 screens. I'm trying to balance them. So Shayna Baszler and Vega, that didn't happen on Monday, did it?
That hasn't happened. No,
that has not happened yet. No.
Yeah. So okay, we did. So Asuka is injured. Which, by the way, don't even get me started on the injuries in the WWE. Like everyone and their mother is hurt right now.
Yeah,
they're doing good with what they
man.
got. Yeah. Io Sky and Natalia, Valkyria. Who did she face? Because I can't remember. Like I've been so
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai
took her place. Took Asuka's place.
Yeah. So she wins that. Zoe Stark won. Io Sky won, and Shayna hasn't happened. So first round of Raw. Let's go to James. What did you think of the matches that were put on?
Because see, the thing is too, man, with this women's division, like I've said it for years too, this is such a talented women's division, and it's unfortunate, like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks, right? And I know I'm kind of maybe slightly going off topic here, but I mean, Io Sky's tremendous. I mean, over Natalia. I mean, come on, it's much love to her. It's Natalia. You know, Valkyria, you know, me and Brian have spoken about it too with Valkyria. It seems like she's going to be one of the lucky ones being an NXT call up. I don't know what much of impact, especially for somebody, I know they're not on this bracket, but like a Kiana James and a Blair Davenport who were just drafted over to the main roster because it's already such a crowded women's division. But it seems like for Valkyria, she's going to be one of the lucky ones here. And you'll probably see her probably in the finals for Raw in regards to it. I didn't really care for much of these matches, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I really like I even said it, me and Brian even had an episode, we talked a little bit about these matches. It's like Zoe Starks and Ivy Nile, 2 tremendous freaking talents that have all the potential in the world. Like you think Starks and Ivy Nile, like their shtick is like their strengths, they're kind of slightly type of powerhouse type of women. Like you think that's pretty badass, but the way that they've been booked, it's just like you don't really care, and you hear the reception they get from the crowd. It just proves my point. So it sucks for Ivy Nile. You know, maybe fingers crossed. You know, we've talked about. I know, kind of again going off topic with Chad Gable. Maybe he forms a new Alpha Academy 2.0. You've got the Creed brothers, and maybe she jumps on board, replacing Maxine Dupree. So I'm holding out hope for her. You know, obviously it sucks, of course, with Asuka. The injury bug has been pretty darn crazy. It's unfortunate. Io Sky is honestly, as of right now, as of what I'm thinking, at least going with my gut here, probably going to come out of the Raw side of this bracket. In regards to it. With Zoe Starks, I just don't think that this company is that high on Zoe Starks, nor that I don't think that they have anything for her in regards to it. For Selena Vega and Baszler, whoever wins that match, it doesn't matter. They're going to lose to Io Sky. I don't think Io Sky's winning this entire thing, but she will come out of the Raw side winning this whole thing. Valkyria, we'll see. I haven't really seen much of her to know what she's going to truly do as far as making an impact in the women's division, because like I said, it's already such a crowded women's division. So those are my takes, at least for the Raw side of it.
For sure. And I agree with you too. I didn't care much for these matches. And again, if Rhea was healthy, we'd have like Becky Lynch in here and Asuka if she wasn't hurt. So it'd be better for the Raw side. That's why I just bunched them together. What do you think of the Raw side matches? MVP, what do you think of the Raw side matches?
Okay, like you guys, I don't really care for them, but I actually think they're kind of high on Valkyria, given the connection with Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch giving her the nod in NXT, dropping the title to her. I think she comes out of the Raw finals.
Valkyria.
Yeah.
Word.
Okay.
And to get there, I think
Possible.
she beats Zelina Vega. Because so Zelina Vega is the reigning Queen of the Ring.
Yeah.
I don't think you forget that and just have her job out in the first round to Shayna Baszler.
Right. Which does suck because Shayna Baszler is one of those that she should mean so much more than she ever did.
Yeah.
And I mean,
absolutely.
she should be that big threat like they do for Nia Jax. Like, how can we take Nia Jax as this big monster heel and Shayna Baszler could be like 10 times that? She's got the MMA background and all that, right?
Mhm.
So it just stinks that she always gets the short stick. But no, I get you on that MVP. Brian, who do you think comes out on the Raw side?
So I'm going with another wild card here, maybe just because I like her so much, and I think this is maybe them trying to get some type of connection or push. But I'm going with Stark coming out for the Raw. Like you said, all of you guys said. I mean, the SmackDown, matches and possible matchup is just so much more stacked than Raw right now.
For sure.
I mean, I'm just going like this whole bracket, it doesn't really matter who you put in there. Like, I wouldn't be super excited about any of the matchups per se.
Yeah.
But I do. So for the Raw side, I got Io Sky and Zoe Stark in the final with Stark going over. And maybe that's just my personal bias speaking because I think Stark has something, and there's been a couple starts and stops with her. And maybe this because I don't think she's winning, but maybe this kind of is a start of a little bit of a push to see if they do have anything with her.
Yeah. She did very well with that whole shtick she did with Trish, and like she played her role very well in that. But after that, like she got mixed in with Shayna Baszler. You didn't even know if she was a heel or face. Like
they kept
like you just blurred
face.
Right, you just blur the lines with her, and like nobody knows who the hell she even is, and she's just been not even underneath the radar. She's just been irrelevant. And like you said, Brian, like there's talent there. You saw it with Trish, and so who freaking knows? I mean, I want to take your word for it that she definitely does, because I think, like you said, Zoe Starks, because I see the talent in Zoe Starks. I see the talent in Ivy Nile. I see the talent in a lot of these ladies, but it's unfortunate that, at least in the women's division is concerned, they're just reliable on the Becky Lynches, the Charlotte Flairs, the Biancas. And again, love Bianca. Right now it's Jade Cargill right now. Io Sky, and it's everyone else is kind of just, like you guys said, like getting the short end of the stick. So it's we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's what I think. I think you got to point at them WWE relying on those top women. I think they're just waiting for one of these newer ones to just like break through. Like you said, there's talent there.
Yeah.
But I went to Survivor Series where Zoe Stark had that the title match against Rhea Ripley. She got no reaction.
I know.
Yeah.
So
none.
They're just waiting for one of these to just connect with the fans and then try to ride them.
Yeah. But the problem is, but they turned her face, man. She was a heel with Trish, and she was doing so well. And now you expect, like, for her, even though I love the turn on Trish, but now you're like, now reality kicks in, like, oh snap, like now she's a face. Now we have to get fans to cheer her and care about her. So that was botched right there. And it was unfortunate too, because that was freaking. I'm sure in attendance it was just as bad as it was on TV, because you could tell. You don't even have to hear people like chant. You could just see like people are just sitting twiddling their thumbs when she comes out. It's unfortunate, man. So yeah.
But I will say, especially with the promo that Becky cut, just putting over Valkyria last week, I do have her losing to Stark, but I do feel like she's also going to be one of those people that we're going to be seeing a lot of her in the next 2, 3, 4 months, man. She's going to be especially with the injuries.
Whether we like it or not, she's gonna be there.
Yeah, not that I don't. I mean, I haven't seen
me
much
neither.
of her,
Me neither.
to really form an opinion that much. But
right.
Like you said, she's going to be one of those younger people that are really going to be given an opportunity here.
Absolutely,
so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And then, not to beat a dead horse, just my pick coming out of the Raw side, I do think that Io Sky is going to come out of the Raw side. That's just who I think is going to come out. But it doesn't matter because all the heavy hitters are on SmackDown. That's where we're going to go over to right now. And we'll talk about that. So, James, what did you think of the matches on SmackDown? So we had Naomi versus Nia Jax.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Jade Cargill versus Piper Niven, and we had Bianca Belair versus Candice LeRae. So we'll start at the top. Naomi and Nia Jax, what do you think?
With Nia Jax, she took that loss to Liv Morgan. So obviously it's, with WWE, they're still trying to book her as like this beast. So the thing is with Naomi, man, is what's so freaking unfortunate. It's like she's legit in the same freaking position that she has been in before she freaking left with Sasha Banks and put those tag titles on John Laurinaitis' desk and walked the hell out. And now she made a huge, like I said, impact, no pun intended. And she comes back here and we're so hopeful, right? Now we're in this new era, right? We talk about this new era in wrestling, and she's just now she's just the fall gal. That's pretty much just what she is. It's just, and hopefully the hope is that there's still something for Naomi, but now past history has told us that there's probably not going to be, at least as a singles competitor. I don't believe this company has anything for Naomi. It's unfortunate because she's just that damn good. And before we even started this, we talked about the wardrobe malfunction, which was freaking, it's unfortunate, but even with Naomi too, like you wouldn't even know because of how still she was able to make that matchup work. I'm not the biggest fan of Nia Jax. I'm really not. I understand she's gotten better, and I'm rooting for her that she does continue to improve in regards to it, but it makes sense because now you've got this next matchup. It's Jade and Piper Niven. Obviously, this company is very high on Jade Cargill, giving her this new contract. And obviously, you see her entrance there. They're portraying her as, again, you don't want to say the flavor of the month, but obviously the next big top star, Jade Cargill and Nia. I thought that this would be a potential maybe WrestleMania match or some type of big pay-per-view match because Jade did eliminate Nia from the Royal Rumble. So, but now we're going to get this in the tournament match for the most part. But yeah, no, Jade is tremendous. I know Jade gets a really bad rap from her wrestling matches. I don't need to see her perform like an Asuka or a Bayley or even a Naomi. Like she's that captivating in her own way. Like, I don't know if you guys, you just hear me out on this. Like Ultimate Warrior. Like Ultimate Warrior was a terrible wrestler. He couldn't wrestle a freaking lick, but he's Ultimate Warrior because he was a character and he was an entertainer and he still captivated you. All he needed to do was maybe a power slam, some clotheslines, and you're freaking captivated just by just what he can do outside of just the wrestling itself. And with Jade, it's kind of the same way. So Jade, she can do her jaded finisher. She can do her pump freaking boot kick. And I wouldn't second guess it in the slightest. So I'm fine with Jade Cargill. Of course, it's Piper Niven. And I also like these matches too, how they also feel somewhat fresh, right? They're not like the redundant matches that we always see from like all the time. So that's what's kind of at least somewhat different about this tournament. I'll explain about it later. Tiffany and Michin, I don't think they fought yet. I think they fought like in some live event, I believe, this week or this weekend or something. Obviously, Tiffany, it's Tiffy time all the time for me. I freaking love this gal. I'm a fan of her winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. Maybe not this tournament. I wouldn't mind her winning the tournament. Do I think she needs it to get already over? No, because I already think she's already freaking maybe not over, but has somewhat of a connection with this wrestling audience. So I don't really think she needs the Queen of the Ring title, even though it could fit her shtick and it would help her. I just don't think she truly needs it. But she's going to beat Michin if she hasn't already. I'm not sure if they had the match yet or not. And then Belair and Candice LeRae. It's Candice LeRae and Bianca Belair. There's really no shocker there in Bianca. I do like Bianca and Jade in a tag team. because of the fact that it's helping Jade kind of get over and help her, and it's taking Bianca away from the title picture. Because I feel like Bianca, as great as she is, she needed to get away from that title picture to not have fans kind of get sick of it, right? You don't want to make it redundant for her, like, oh, here's Bianca in another title match, right? Like, she could be just as effective without that world title picture involved. The one thing I will say about the tag titles, right, and these two ladies being involved, part of me wants to say it really doesn't make sense, because why do you have these two ladies in a tournament when you're trying to build up a tag division? It really, like, if you're gonna put these two ladies in a tag team and hold titles, wouldn't you be trying to evolve your tag division and putting them in a feud together instead of putting them in this tournament and having people like Tiffany and people like Naomi taking just random losses? So that's my nitpick about this, at least for the women's side of this tournament in this bracket. So I mean, the matches were the matches. They were fine. There was nothing memorable maybe about it, but I mean, maybe with Jade Cargill and just how, again, captivating that she just freaking is when she's in the ring. But outside of that, man, I think it's a toss up with probably Jade, Bianca. With Tiffany and Bianca, I think that's going to be the toss up there. Jade is going to be in the finals for the SmackDown side. She's going to defeat Nia. She's going to be in the SmackDown side, and you can either see Jade versus Bianca, or you're going to see Jade versus Tiffany Stratton. It's going to probably be one of the two. Who wins it? I guess we'll find out. So, but it's going to be it's going to come down to those three pretty much.
Yeah, and I'm going to go next, and then we're going to go to Brian and MVP, just because this is fresh in my head. So before I talk about the matches, so to your point, the tag titles in the women's division, I'm a big fan of just getting rid of those. And the reason I say that is everyone is pretty set in their rosters, but you have this one women's tag team that can travel between shows because they're the only tag team champions. What they should do is there's not enough female tag teams to go around. It's just thrown together wrestlers, which I am not a fan of.
Me neither.
You get rid of that and you just make another mid-card title for SmackDown or Raw, and you could still have a lot of fresh matches over women's mid-card titles, like a women's, I don't want to say women's United States and women's Intercontinental, but another mid-card title each, just to keep everyone on their own brands. And I mean, I don't really see any like legacy behind a women's tag team title, to be honest. The women's division has always seemed, about dominant women getting over and being like the top of their division. And I mean, I don't think anyone really cares about tag team champions. Like, it's cool that Bianca and Jade have them, but who's realistically going to dethrone them in the next 2,000 days?
Yeah,
it doesn't
right.
make sense. I mean, just get rid of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, starting from the top, Nia Jax, I mean, she has gotten better. She hasn't murdered anyone lately and hurt anyone. So we'll give her the benefit of the doubt there. And Naomi, I don't see. Honestly, they should just put her with the bloodline, to be honest. Her hair could be red and black, and she should be with Jimmy. Well, Jimmy's out now anyway. So cancel that. I completely forgot about that. Jade and Piper Niven. Jade, they're pushing her. And to James' point, you said Ultimate Warrior. I told MVP in a previous episode Goldberg. Where he could hit all the big moments. Yeah, but like you put him with a William Regal and he got shown up like, I can't wrestle. Right. If they focused on Jade just doing those power moves and she doesn't have that many missteps trying to actually wrestle, she would feel like a bigger attraction, because I could see her do the power moves. But then when like MVP, what did you say in the Backlash? She like did a move and then she was pinned all of a sudden, and you're like, wait, what? How did this happen?
She did a move, and then all of a sudden she's on the ground getting pinned.
Yeah, and it's like,
was that when they had the botch with was that? Yeah, that was the same match where they weren't sure if Asuka or
Kyrie was the league competitor.
In the ring, or
something like pretty much. Yeah, she kicked somebody, and then all of a sudden she's on the ground getting pinned.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
What's going on here?
But yeah, I definitely see Jade going to the finals, though, just because they're pushing her and she's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, her and Jack should be a showing of how strong Jade can be, and we'll see from there. It is Tiffy time. I think Tiffany Stratton goes to the finals, and the reason being, it doesn't make sense to have Bianca and Jade in the finals when they're the tag team champions.
Right.
Oh, great,
again,
yeah.
that just shows that there's no one on their level, and they could be tag team champions, the finals of the Queen of the Ring. Like, who's going to take them down? I just don't see that. I think Tiffany Stratton has a good showing and goes against Jade. For me, that's the toss up. Tiffany or Jade. I don't know who they'll put in the finals, but whoever it is going to beat Io Sky in the finals. It's going to be Queen Jade Cargill or Queen Tiffany Stratton. If I'm going to give an honest prediction, it should be Tiffany Stratton, just because Jade has the tag team titles. She doesn't also need to be Queen of the Ring, and they've pushed Tiffany Stratton so strong that she should definitely win it, in my opinion. I mean, it would be a good accolade for her before she gets any gold, and that could carry her through to SummerSlam or even further. So that's what I think, but we'll go to Brian.
So for this first round of matches, man, like I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of both Jax and Naomi. It's kind of like the Orton and Styles match. I just wish they wouldn't have faced in the first round.
Yeah.
But I do understand. I mean, you only have 8 women here from the Raw side, and you got Belair, Cargill, and Naomi, who are all kind of, I mean, I know Naomi's not a tag team champ, but she's kind of in there with them, so she kind of gets the short end of the stick because, again, like you said, these women aren't going to be facing each other, in this tournament. So somebody's got to go. I might have these second round matches mixed up here. So in the second round, is Belair fighting Jax or is she fighting Stratton?
Stratton.
She's fighting
Belair
Stratton.
will fight
Okay.
Stratton. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I had that backwards then. But yeah, Stratton's going over there, and I agree with you. Cargill then would go over. No, you know what? I don't know.
Nia's going over.
I don't know. Shit, I'm going with it. I'm going with Nia. I think both of them, Belair and Cargill, both are knocked out, and it's going to be Jax and Stratton. Yeah,
you're a gambling man too, aren't
that's
you?
the gambling, Brian. That's probably the hottest take of this freaking episode. Yeah, the Jade Cargill losing to Jet. Wow. Okay, that's that's wild. Okay, I like it though. Brother.
I don't think it's just one of those things where like Cargill's getting there at some point. At the same time, they are still trying to build Jax as that. They're trying to. I don't know if they're ever going to succeed, and that's my only drawback. Is like, are you going to keep going with Jax here and try to push her now that she's on SmackDown, or not? And you still have Belair and Cargill as the tag team champions. I don't think they lose anything in that. But in the final,
I think they would want to have Jade Cargill remain undefeated, though, at least in regard, because she is still pretty new to the main, WWE in general, which is why I say it's kind of a ballsy take for Nia to go over in regards to that. But it's just like, I don't understand why both of these ladies are even in the tournament. Go ahead, Brian. My fault.
So I mean, but here you go. Like my final, I think my final is Stratton and Stark, and I think Stratton's going over. I think her being queen, it just fits her persona and her character so well, and she's going to do so well with that. So whether she loses to Nia or Stratton or whoever, like, I mean, Belair or Cargill, neither one of them are coming out as Queen of the Ring, I don't think. So they're losing somewhere.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's Bianca more than honestly Jade. I don't see Jade losing. If she's losing, then it's somewhere in like the finals of the SmackDown side or the King of the Ring, or for the Queen of the Ring itself in Saudi. I don't see her losing. Bianca probably with Tiffany, and hopefully, and that's the thing with Tiffany Bianca too. I've said that could be potentially a WrestleMania freaking matchup for Tiffany and Belair. So, and with Bianca, who knows? I've heard teases. I've heard. Go ahead, Brian. My fault. Go ahead.
So unless anybody's going with Cargill being the Queen of the Ring, like if she gets to the finals, you can't have her lose in the finals because there ain't nobody over on the Raw side that So I that's why I don't think Belair or her.
And that's why I stated earlier about like both of these ladies, Bianca and Jade, even being in this tournament. Like they're both the women's tag champions. Like why even risk it and have them in this tournament when they're already tag champions? Build the tag division around them in a feud. It just doesn't really make sense because now you're in a pickle to where, shoot, if Tiffany loses, that's not really good on her part. You have freaking Nia Jax, who, again, I'm not the biggest fan of, but I've agreed that this is the best she's looked in her career, and she already lost to Liv Morgan freaking on her last night on Monday Night Raw, and now she's on SmackDown, and now she's gonna lose this. It's just, it's gonna be interesting how they book this, man. But
I think it really comes down to the SmackDown is just so stacked. And Raw isn't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, everyone's hurt. Yeah, everyone's hurt on Raw.
Yeah, because of
everyone's right. Everyone's injured. Exactly.
MVP. Let's go to your thoughts real quick, and then we'll start wrapping up the episode. But go ahead and what do you think of the SmackDown side?
All right, here we go.
Hot takes incoming.
All right, so Bianca Belair and Stratton, yes, and Stratton going over for sure. Cargill and Nia Jax. Here's my solution to get Cargill out of there without taking a loss. Double count out.
Yeah.
Who are you, Vince McMahon?
Or double DQ or something like that. Yeah.
And Stratton gets to the finals on a bye, and Stratton beats Lyra Valkyria, Queen of the Ring. That's my hot take. No, Jade Cargill cannot win this thing, especially like you said.
She doesn't need it.
Yeah,
no,
and she doesn't need it either. And that's the thing, and that's what's unfortunate too, because even though Tiffany Stratton doesn't need it either, because honestly, even though I wouldn't mind it, that would kind of be the only option that you could go in regards to Tiffany, because I've always stayed with Tiffany because she could win the Money in the Bank briefcase for the women's side, but for Bianca and Jade, like they don't need this at all. They don't need this spiel at all. So for Tiffany, that seems to me like the only option you can go to. I don't think she needs this, but in the fact that you have Bianca and Jade in this thing, and they also don't really need that accolade either. So that's what's unfortunate in regards to it. So I don't know who the hell knows. So.
For sure.
So I have Belair and Cargill eventually having something at Mania, and originally the thought was Cargill versus Nia Jax. But since that's not going to happen, I say they start that program now, and they both get double counted out. But in doing so, they're just beating the crap out of each other.
Right.
And then Nick Aldis does hey, all right, you want to do this? You two in Saudi.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And you get Jade Cargill out of this tournament unscathed. No loss taken, because she needs to remain undefeated.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So
all right. So I see your point. But I mean, I guess the consensus among the four of us, mainly we got Tiffany Stratton in the finals, and I don't know. I think that Tiffany Stratton, like I said, for Money in the Bank, those are mostly for people that come out and they get like that, someone's injured and they take them out real quick and pin them and, cash in. Tiffany Stratton deserves like a match to show that I can hang with these women and I can win the title in a 30-minute match or whatever, 20-minute match or whatever. That's my opinion, but I think they
could do that, and they still could do that in the future. So
and just her as a adding the queen gimmick to what she already does, man, is she's gonna it's gonna be so
it absolutely fits for sure. So
she's the only one that makes sense to win this thing, honestly.
Yeah.
So I mean, and again, to the listeners and watchers, sorry, WWE does not want us to just show you a real bracket, so I had to do like 3 different pictures, but here we are. So a lot of good conversation. Again, James and Brian, thank you for being on, and plug your channel one more time, TikTok and YouTube and all that.
Yes. So TikTok and Instagram, that is ruthless_talk on social media. You guys can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. So make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel if you guys want to check us out. And thank you guys, man, for having us. This was really fun. Appreciate you guys
absolutely.
for the time, for having us on the show. And for all you listeners out there, check out Ruthless Talk. And yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, for sure. It was great having you guys on. Great conversation, and I definitely look forward to working with you guys more, and hopefully do some more content with you guys. So,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Definitely look forward to it.
Yep. For me and MVP, again, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. We do drop daily wrestling content. Again, that WWE shop link, buy all the merch you want, wear your Yeet shirt and the levels above, everything you want. And it's no extra money. It's just an extra click to help support your favorite people at Triple Threat Wrestling and the WWE. So again, thank you guys for coming on, and MVP, we'll see you in the next one.